last few episodes and the couple of lighter content that we've been doing, but we're diving right back into things once again. So for today's story, get yourselves nice and comfortable. Grab yourselves anything you need to get nice and cozy, or make yourself feel good and relaxed, or join me in something different today with a little non-alcoholic beverage. I don't actually know what this is. It could be like non-alcoholic champagne. I don't know, but I'm drinking this because I have a feeling it's on theme with today's story, so you'll see. And also I need a break. That sounds so good. It's not alcoholic. Cheers. Okay, so it is October 31st in 2010, and our story takes place in Sandusky, Ohio, where the Liske family lives at 7052 North Ohio 2. The family consists of Devin Griffin, who is 16, his brother Derek, who was 23 at the time, mother Susan, who was 46, and his stepfather William E. Liske, whom was 53 years old at the time. His mother and stepfather were described as people with very big hearts. They both enjoyed hunting, fishing, and spending time around the 100-acre land near their home, calling it their own personal heaven. Devin's brother Derek was a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and all seemed well. My dog needs to stop walking. So on Halloween weekend, Devin Griffin spent his Saturday visiting his father and returned on Sunday morning for his regular routine to go get ready for church. There's really nothing I could have dressed up like for this video, so I just wore literally like the last thing I wore when I went to church with my mom. So sometimes there's nothing, sometimes it's very theatrical. Whatever. Anyway, so it's 21. So then, no. His 24-year-old stepbrother William, aka BJ, was at the house and was unusually chatty and cheerful. The two didn't actually get along well at all, but he seemed to be in high spirits, asking how he was and how long he'd be gone for, but Devin didn't really think too much about it. He just kind of went along his day and thought he's suspiciously high-spirited. Devin just went about his day and got ready and went out to perform in his Sunday morning church service. I think he returned to the house around 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon. And like most 16-year-olds, once Devin returned home, he just wanted to unwind and hang out, and realized his home was quite quiet. Normally, people would be walking around, his mother would be doing a million things, but he thought maybe they just had a late sleep-in. So he went and played video games. He noticed, though, that it was quiet for a bit too long, and knew Susan, his mother, should be doing something around the house. So Devin took it upon himself to get up after playing for a bit and look around to kind of locate his family members. But it was then, when he entered the master bedroom, that he would soon find out where his family was, and we'll get into it in a moment. So, lying in their bed with their mother's side of the bed. It was then that he noticed her foot had been sticking out from under the covers, and he sort of was tapping on her leg to get her attention. But still, she just gave him no response. It was then that he'd pulled down the covers to reveal a blood-soaked pillow and mess. He froze, trying to comprehend the image that he was seeing, and he could not collectively acknowledge what was happening, and he thought that it was a Halloween prank. So I'm sure he stood there for a second, maybe being like, "You're kidding." But no. So, realizing he was standing over his mother and stepfather, he'd ran from his house in tears, or father, either way, ran from his house in tears, realizing that his family had been attacked and murdered. He'd actually never went upstairs to check on his brothers. He just had seen his parents and ran. He ended up calling his aunt for help, and she arrived missing and were gone too frequently. After they'd returned from the hunting trip, William and BJ got together with a friend for a few beers. Derek Griffin, William's stepson, was not there because they just really did not get along. But I mean, also, if they were getting beers, Derek was only like 16, right? So he wouldn't have been there. William had allowed BJ to spend the night as they had both been drinking, and he did not think that BJ was in a good state to drive. The couch was then made up and he'd slept there. Michelle Gradle, a neighbor of William and Susan's, told investigators that she'd heard what sounded like a gunshot at around 6:30 a.m. on October 31st. After Devin's encounter with BJ the next morning, BJ had then taken the family's Ford F-150 and drove out to the hunting cabin where him and his father had just returned. He was there for less than an hour before Carroll County Sheriff's deputies had arrested him. He was then charged with 1 count of murder right at the time of arrest. This allowed them to hold BJ until he was presented to the grand jury. BJ had then pled guilty in 2011 to 3 counts of aggravated murder. In exchange for his plea, prosecutors agreed to not seek the death penalty and instead recommended BJ to be sentenced to life without parole. That is the very sad story of the Liske murders and of William B.J. Liske taking his own parents and siblings' lives. What actually just hit me is that he raped his stepmother and he hated her. That is messed up. Had you guys heard this story before? I had not. Most of these I haven't. I've already kind of said that. It's really sad how untreated mental health can, especially escalate with violence, what it can lead to. And yeah, it's not like they didn't know either. This was just a very sad incident that I don't know, based on the sounds of it, I don't know what it could have been avoided, of course, but it seems like it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And especially I believe that in domestic abuse cases against family members, anytime there is a reoccurrence, it's always significantly worse. Statistically, it does not end with it doesn't start with a slap and end there. It goes further and further. So it's very sad that this had happened, and I feel awful for Derek, or no, it was Devin, who had to go in and find his family like that. So yeah, a shorter video for you guys today. Some of these stories are just pretty, but I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me at least. I hope you guys are enjoying